This is BHAMBRA here for PSB Sports. We're at the Park Plaza in London here today. I'm very happy to be joined by the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mr. Joseph Parker. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. And actually, it's good to be here again. Third fight here in London. Oh, I mean, in the UK. So it feels like another home now. And it's you know, checked in. Everything's running smoothly. Welcomed here. And so just gonna go about with our training, keeping it sharp, simple, and preparing well for next week.
That's awesome to hear, Joe. And I remember actually I saw you briefly in the hallway of the Principality Stadium after your fight with AJ. Your post-fight press conference. I think I saw you briefly. Then you went to your changing room. Just talk to me a bit about the experience you gained in the Joshua fight, that whole sort of fight week, everything that came with it.
The whole event was a tremendous event. You know, it was great to be a part of it, and also leading up to the fight, we enjoyed everything that we did. You know, media workout, press conference, weigh-in. We enjoyed the whole experience, and I think we grew as a team. Grew stronger as a team with the experiences that we had with the fight, but also as a fighter, as a boxer, I feel like did some good things in the fight, and there's also things that I needed to work on. But the whole experience, you know, we took out from it was that we belong at the top, and we just have to fix a few things and sort of change a few things, and you know, we'll be back. But no, Joshua did great on the day. You know, he changed it up. He boxed a lot better than I thought he would, and the reason why he won. You know, and so he's the better man on the day, but. No, we're going to take a few more fights to get back to the top and challenge him again if we can.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, when you look back on the fight with Joshua, as you mentioned, it was a huge event. You had 80,000 people in Cardiff. I think it had probably loads of buys on Sky Sports box office. So when you look back at it, what sort of things would you have changed now in the fight? Would you have done anything differently? Oh,
of course. You know, with the fight, I believe the movement and I believe the speed and the defense was a lot better than it ever has been in previous fights for myself. But I think you know, with fights you have to, you know, offense is important as well. You know, but I could have thrown a bit more. I could have left the ring and saying, oh, you know, I did everything I could. But I felt like I still had energy after the fight. So that's a good learning sort of curve for me. You know. So for the next fight and future fights, when I leave the ring, I'm gonna say, I was not gonna say, I wish I did more. I'm gonna say I left it all in the ring, and what, you know, and so. And also just, you know, he could have worked on a few other things, you know, combinations that were being said in the corner. But you know, there was good things and there were bad things. And so I think with this camp, we've sort of analysed the things that we didn't do as good, and we worked on it. And I feel like coming to this fight, there's going to be a lot more improvement in those areas.
I think I remember actually in the post-fight press conference, Kevin actually said, he said at the end of the 6th round you came back to your stall and you said that, Joe, this fight is here for the taking for us. It's been an even fight up until now, and the fight's here for the taking. So from the 6th round onwards, what do you think potentially you could have done maybe a bit better after Kevin said that? I
thought I was boxing well, and you know, as a boxer and you're in the ring, you sort of think you're doing all right, but there should have been more. I should have been more aggressive. I should have shown more aggression and mongo, and should have shown that I wanted it more. But you know, it's fight time, and you're facing another challenger who happens to be a world champion, and he's trying his best to win as well. So it went both ways, back and forth. But eventually, he came out on top. And there's nothing really I can sort of say to change it, or nothing I can do about it now. But the thing I can do about it now is to keep working hard and keep progressing and keep improving, and hopefully, like I said, get a rematch in the future. Definitely.
And you actually mentioned there about the, you know, I think I've heard, actually no, I've heard a few people mention about the referee after the fight. I noticed after it happened, Dana Whyte, the president of the UFC, said that he actually said quite strongly on his Instagram page, he said who allowed this referee to ref a world heavyweight title unification. I saw on Twitter as well, and I even asked Eddie Hearn after the fight what his thoughts were on the ref. So a lot of people were saying that the ref was jumping in too much. He wasn't allowing you to sort of go at it when you were in the clinch and stuff like that. So what do you make of the ref as well?
You know, the ref didn't help a lot, but the ref is the ref, and he did what he did. And as a fighter, I think I could have adjusted and changed some of the things I did. You know, seeing what the ref did. So you can't really put the blame on the ref. The full blame on the ref. I know everyone else is blaming him, but for me, the fight's the fight. It happened, and we can't change it. So I think if we have a fight in the future and there's a rift like that, then I know how to adjust and change from the experience that I had with the previous rift.
Absolutely, for sure. And now obviously it's literally it's crazy to think you were literally just involved in the World Heavyweight Unification only 4 months ago, and literally 4 months later you're already in another huge heavyweight fight against Dillian Whyte back here in the UK. So I mean, first of all, what was the reason for the quick turnaround? Because it's only been after someone loses a heavyweight unification fight, sometimes they take a long time to come back, or they don't get themselves involved in such a big fight like this. So what are the reasons, one, you've come back so fast, and two, you're taking such a big fight?
Well, we firstly, we're still hungry to be the best in the world, and we know that from that fight we learned a lot, and we know we can bring it into this next fight. And secondly, we want to fight the best in the world, and we want to get back to the top fast. We don't want to be, there's a lot of fighters that fight world title fights or unifications, and after the fight if they lose, they take easy fights to fight back and get sort of confidence. So what's the point of doing that? I think it's important to fight the best in the world. Firstly, both boxers have to agree, which is myself and Dillian Whyte. Credit to him as well. He takes up any challenge that comes his way, and the business side of things all made sense as well. So when everything does make sense like that, it's so easy to make a deal and make a fight happen, and that's why we're here.
That sounds great. And I know that it's when the first press conference happened, I think it was only about 7 weeks ago, so it's been a pretty short turnaround. Yeah. So at what sort of point did you know you were actually going to fight Dillian Whyte from the first press conference? Was it a few days before that?
It was a few days before I flew here, and I actually flew here and there was no contract signed. So
oh wow!
So we flew here and then we did the deal with Eddie, and all of a sudden it was on. And so when I left the UK, when I was here probably 6 weeks ago, yeah, that's when we started training camp.
Oh wow, awesome. And in terms of the actual deal itself, from what you're saying, it sounds like it was a pretty easy deal to make, because you came here, you signed it, it was done and dusted in the press conference.
When you have a great team like Metro and a great team like Duco events who are pretty fair and who they get along well and there's no egos involved, then it's so easy to make a deal. You got Eddie Hearn and Dave Higgins who work really well together, and like I said, both boxers have to agree. They have to obviously find a venue and a place to hold the fight and all that, and once everything is sort of ticked off, then it's so easy to make the fight. But I think the most important thing is both fighters have to be eager to fight each other.
Definitely. And in particular, Joseph, there's one common denominator in your records. You and Dillian Whyte have loads of wins, but the one defeat you guys both have does come to Anthony Joshua. So when you've sort of studied Dillian Whyte over this training camp, etc., have you looked at that Anthony Joshua fight in particular to sort of gauge any weaknesses you might have?
Yeah, I think Kev and I in this camp, that's a different Dillian Whyte. We're not expecting him to fight the same as Joshua. We're expecting him to fight a lot better and a lot smarter than what he did in the past. And so, we do have a common sort of loss in our record. Both of us fighting Joshua and both losing, but it sort of shows that when we both get to the top level, there's a difference, Yeah. But when we get to the top level, there's a difference in how we fight and how we approach it, and how we, the results are a lot different. But you can't take anything away from that. You gotta take him as a fighter who's hungry, who wants to be world champion, who's eager to put on a great performance in his hometown. I'm coming in as a person from the outside, trying to roll and everything that he's been building here. So, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I mean, I know you mentioned earlier in the interview that it's now your third fight in the UK, but it probably is starting to feel a bit like home. Staying in this lovely setting as well, etc. Being in London, but when you come over in a heavyweight fight as the away fighter, as a challenger, do you get more comfortable the fact that you've fought here twice before, or does it still feel like you're the away fighter?
There's a lot more confidence from the previous fights that we've had here. Coming into now, we feel like it's not so strange, and it's not something that's new to us. We've done it the past 2 fights now, so it feels like it's just we're starting to get a good flow here, and which is very important, And it's as an away fighter, sometimes you get home advantage if you're fighting here. So you have to, my goal or our goal as a team, Kev, myself, and Duco Events and management team, is to put on a dominant performance and try our best to get him out of there. We want to get him out of there.
Absolutely. And over this training camp, what in particular, I know you said you're going to see you're expecting a different Dillian Whyte to the one that fought Anthony Joshua. But what sort of things have you seen in his arsenal which you could potentially exploit without giving like too much away?
You know, there's he's not as fast, his movement is not as good, but he makes up for it with just toughness, you know, coming forward, and he throws a lot of combinations. And so there's a few things that we've seen and a few things that my coach has seen, in which he's put together a game plan which we think will be very, very good for this fight. We think that'll work, and if I execute it to the best of my ability, it should be a good night for us.
For sure. And I want to also, Joe, I want to give you a chance to answer some of the critics, in particular from after the Joshua fight. I know I watched the Gloves Are Off with you and Dillian Whyte on YouTube yesterday. Very quickly into the interview, when he was asked, Dillian was asked, he said that he thinks you're a coward, etc. And I've seen John Fury as well, Tyson Fury's father. I did an interview with him. He said that you came to give your belt away, etc. You didn't really come to fight, and obviously you come from a very proud heritage of Samoan and New Zealand descent. So what do you make of those sort of comments when people think you came and just gave your belt away?
People are entitled to their comments and their opinions, and it's so easy to say things when you're not in the ring fighting. You know, so for Fury, it's easy to say when you're not in the ring fighting. For Dillian Whyte, like I said, when we both fought at the top level, there's a difference in how we, you know, the result. You know, from me, I can learn from the beginning of the fight and the end of the fight, and between, you know, the mid rounds. He can learn from the beginning, but not the end, because obviously he wasn't there to finish the fight. And so when we both reach the top level, there's a difference. And what's boxing about? Boxing is about hitting and not getting hit, you know. And so, you know, he was happy to go in there and get knocked out. It was just, you know, who wants to get knocked out? It's not really, you know, like great fighters and like Floyd Mayweather, you know, hitting and don't get hit. So, you know, you try your best to impact a lot of hurt on the opponent, but you're also trying your best to defend yourself as best you can. And you know, smart fighters are the fighters who sort of save their brains for the future.
In the fight with AJ, is he the hardest puncher you face? And also, do you believe you hurt him in the fight as well?
I believe we both threw some good punches that sort of, you know, hurt each other, but he could have been the hardest puncher I faced, but he didn't really land anything as you know, clearly or, you know, flush, which is why he probably wasn't the hardest puncher I felt in the ring. So I know that if he probably landed flush, it would be a different story, but I was very happy that I was able to move and defend and not get caught with those big punches or those big bombs coming my way.
Definitely. And with in terms of obviously Tyson Fury as well, he had his comeback like a month ago now, June the 9th. He defeated Sefer Seferi. What did you make of his comeback, and also what are your thoughts on his next opponent, Francesco Pianeta?
You know, first, it's great to see him come back. You know, it's great to see him overcome all those obstacles that he was facing in his personal life. It's always, you know, it's not as easy as people think, so credit to him for doing that. For him getting in the ring after a long time, there was a lot of ring rust, you know, but it's great to get in the ring and let his hands go, and so I think that when his mind is focused, as you can see he is now, he'll definitely prove a point. He'll definitely come back strong. So it's great to see him back, and I wish him all the best.
Is that a fight you'd like maybe down the road with Tyson?
I'd love to fight him. You know, yeah, he's considered one of the best in our era. You know, as a heavyweight because of what he's achieved. You know, beating Klitschko, who was dominating for a long time. So of course, I'd love to fight him. You know, it'll be a great fight.
And also, before Joshua signed his contract to fight Povetkin, there was all this razzmatazz about him maybe fighting Wilder, not fighting Wilder, 50 million, etc. From the outset looking in, what do you make of that whole thing with Joshua and Wilder?
I thought that was a fight they should have made the fight happen. You know, it's a fight everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see who the best in the world is, and they're both great fighters. You know, and as a fan of boxing myself, I would love to see that fight happen. But there's a lot of people involved. You know, negotiations. You have to be happy with this. You have to be happy with that. Promoters, managers, fighters, and so they just had to make it simple and so lock it in. But there's so much involved, and you never know how it's you know, what's happening behind the scenes. So hopefully it happens sometime soon.
And a few more things. I'm sure you've noticed there's a World Boxing Super Series going on at the moment with the cruiserweights, Usyk and Gassiev, and all the other weight divisions. If there was a heavyweight Super Series, would you be interested in enjoying that in the future?
Listen, if it made sense for us as a team, we'll do anything that makes sense for. No, but it's a team discussion. We'll sit down, and if the team's happy and if I'm happy, then we're all happy to do whatever it takes to be the best and show that we belong at the top, and you know, fight in that series. You know, if it's what we agree to.
That's awesome. And Joe, obviously as well, I know you mentioned there, you said you want to have a few fights till you're back at the top, etc. It might take a few wins for you to get another heavyweight title shot. So what's your sort of plan for the next 12 months? Obviously, touch wood for you also, you believe you'll beat Dillian Whyte. And so what's your plan to get back there?
Well, our plan is to obviously take care of Dillian Whyte. All goes well, we smash him and then put on a great performance. We want to keep busy. We want to keep fighting until we get our shot again at the world title. So it's about taking the right fights at the right time, looking good, feeling good, you know, putting on great performances, and then getting the opportunity to fight, you know, either one of the champions or, you know, whoever the unified champion of the world is.
And finally, what can we expect from Joe Parker next Saturday at the O2 Arena?
A whole different fighter. You know, more punches, more aggression. You know, I want this bad. You know, I'm not here to muck around, or I'm not here to, you know, make up numbers. I'm here to take the win, and I really want to knock him out. So that's what I'm here for. That's
awesome to hear, Joe. Awesome to hear. Well, look, thank you very much for your time once again for PSP Sports and us. It really means a lot. And fingers crossed. Wish you all the best up until Saturday.
Thanks, bro.
Take care.